of Skye's chapbook. We've got some great readers lined up for you this afternoon, so thanks for being here. Starting us off today, we have Josh Denslow. Josh Denslow's debut collection, Not Everyone is Special, is a real book you can hold in your hands. And we actually have copies of it right back there. In addition to constructing elaborate Lego sets with his 3 boys, he plays the drums in the band Borrisokane and edits at SmokeLong Quarterly. Come on up, Josh.
Sorry, I had knee surgery a month ago, so I'm moving a little slow. And I don't always walk this cool. Alright, well anyway, thanks again to Malvern Books for having me out. Anyone who asked me to do this, Malvern always says, yeah, it's okay, you can have Josh, and so I appreciate that. And thanks to Skye for reaching out. And I guess Molly too, right?
Yeah, Molly.
Yeah, Molly's great. So I'm going to read 2 quick stories. The first one is from a different series. It's not in my collection. That's over there, and it's called The End. Miranda and I had a doozy of a fight, like the kind where we both started digging into the past for evidence to bolster our current charges. And as always, I technically lost. She was better at digging, and I didn't catalog our past into exhibits to be used later. The irony was that we were both right. I could pay more attention, and she could pay less. But when I woke the next morning, the world had ended. Neither of us had backed down, so we'd slept in the same bed, turned away from each other like question marks. I badly wanted to fall asleep first so she could see how unharmed I was in the fray, but she was snoring well before I drifted off. I thought about when we met and how once I'd seen her, I never wanted to let her out of my sight. When we moved in together, she started calling me a duckling because I followed her from room to room, a few steps behind, a look of awe in my face. I never brought that up in our fights. That morning, I rolled over with the intention of apologizing. I'd meant everything I'd said, but none of it was enough for me to end anything. It was the hazards of the relationship. I had to decide if I was losing myself or becoming better. But Miranda was gone, and so was half of our apartment. As in, the wall along the east side of the building had been ripped free, taking with it my television and video games, which were the only things I brought with me when we moved in. The toilet was also along that wall, and in the kitchen, that would mean the loss of the refrigerator, the microwave, and the hanging pots we never used. The sun slanted across my face, and I raised my hand to block it. I thought how much Miranda would have enjoyed a window on that wall. Through my fingers, I saw that the building across the street had been ripped open as well. I could see into every bedroom. Each was empty of life. Everyone was gone. I searched our apartment, careful not to get too close to the edge, but there was no sign of Miranda. Wind gusted in and rifled loose papers, picture frames, and the books we were never going to read. I thought I noticed some things missing, and I held out hope that Miranda had left in the night and that she was safe. But the chain was on the door, and the only way out was through the missing wall. I looked down the 16 stories to the street below, and that's when I noticed nothing was moving. There was no sound. I ate dry cereal alone at the table. Later, I would go out searching. I wouldn't run into a single person, nor any bodies. Every building, every car, every possible container of people had been ripped in half, the innards of everything exposed, as if some creature had cracked open everything to suck out the inhabitants. But I refused to think of everyone as dead, only moved away. Miranda didn't do well with change, though. I hoped that wherever she was now, whatever her new world looked like, that everything was intact, that the insides weren't showing. As for this world, I guess it couldn't officially be over unless there was someone here to see it, someone like me. That one. So I'm going to read a short one from the collection that's over here. Not Everyone is Special. And I've been going back and forth between 2. Pick 1 or 2. Oh, okay, you called it. My wife will be like, I can't believe you read that one. Okay. This one's called Dorian Vandercleef. When you're a failure at everything else, write a novel. That was the first line of my novel, spoken by Dorian Vandercleef, musician, artist, and social provocateur. My main character would never achieve fame, but I was confident this novel was my ticket to literary stardom. I wrote the last few pages while staying in the garage of my periodic friend from high school and his obnoxiously nice family. Not a converted garage or anything. It was a sleeping on an air mattress next to boxes of Christmas decorations and 2 empty gas cans that still emanated the ghosts of Filling's past type of situation. My friend felt he owed me because my family had taken him in for a few months during our freshman year when his parents were going through a nasty divorce that involved private investigators, secret bank accounts, and a sex toy called the Mint Julep. After some mild cajoling one night at dinner, I let my friend's wife read my novel. She hadn't struck me as all that insightful in our previous conversations, but she fancied herself an expert on the English language because she'd written the manuals that accompany the popular brand of digital cameras. That night, as I slumbered in the garage, which at that time was the temperature of a meat locker, she shook me awake, her face dangerously close to mine. There was a moment when I thought she'd been so overcome by my prose that she was going to engage me in a bit of sexual escapades. I'm ashamed to admit that I wouldn't have stopped her. But luckily for everyone, especially my high school friend, that's not what she had in mind. How do you know Dorian? She asked me urgently. I made him up, I said with pride. He's a figment of my imagination. I know this guy, personally. He's even writing the same book, except his is in first person. First person? Like when you say I and we instead of he and they? Yeah, I know what first person is, I said. I'm just trying to figure out what you're telling me here. She took a deep breath. I've known Dorian Vandercleef since I was a girl. We even tried to date once in college. I'm the Tina in your book. I realized I hadn't bothered to remember my friend's wife's name, or the names of any of his children, even though I'd been staying with them for a few days. And now she was looming over me, and somehow, even with my stunning powers of observation, I'd missed that she was exactly as I described Tina in the novel, slightly plump with an alluring overbite, and honey-colored hair that she tucked behind her tiny ears. I sat up on the air mattress, and my ass sunk all the way to the cement floor. I don't understand, I said. You've written my friend Dorian's story perfectly. She looked scared. Well, I must meet this man, which is exactly what we did, right then, using their family minivan. When Dorian opened the door to his apartment, which I've also described in my novel down to the lopsided number, I knew that everything my friend's wife said was true. There he was, in the robe from the downtown Radisson, which I'd had him steal as a reminder of his conquest of the maid of honor at his sister's wedding. What's going on, Tina? Dorian's voice was just as mellifluous as I'd written on page 3. His leather jacket was thrown over the back of the couch, page 10. The lamp with the bird feet he found while riding a motorcycle across Bali was undimmed, chapter 6. Do you know this guy? She said. They were both staring at me like I was the weird one here. Had I become a character in my book? Or more frightening, was I now going to be a character in his? Standing there between them, I was suddenly aware of my burgeoning double chin and the striking whiteness of my bare arms. I couldn't help but think how we each write this scene and how unattractive I would become when reduced to words. I don't know, Dorian said. Is he important? He wasn't asking my friend's wife. He was asking me. He wanted to know if I was going to make it into his book. Would I thrust his narrative forward? I didn't need to say anything. We all knew the answer. It was fine for me to write about Dorian because he was interesting, whether he was in first or third person. But no one needed to write about me. I'd never been to Bali or slept with the maid of honor. I didn't want Dorian to know my name. I didn't want this moment to become memorable. I didn't want it to be a part of his plot. They were waiting for my answer. It was a test of my fortitude. I had to do something unexpected, something that no reader would see coming. So I ran like hell. My feet slammed on the asphalt outside Dorian's apartment complex, but I didn't slow until I was out of sight. Hunched over and gasping for breath, one thing was certain. I had never, ever meant to tell the truth. Thank you. I think it's let Ben come up next, and oh yeah, you're gonna introduce
Introduce
him.
him.
Oh yeah, yeah. Thanks so much.